Lancer, Episode 1, Mech. Let's be honest with each other for just a couple of minutes here. Any tabletop RPG can be a bit overwhelming. Regardless of how appealing and fantastical they appear, they have a lot of information to them. And today, I'm going to break down some core fundamentals and get you right into the cockpit of your very own mech as soon as possible. Mechs are the bread and butter of this game. The best and worst part of this game is understanding what each mech does. And trying to read hundreds of pages of information just to find the perfect one does seem daunting, because in reality it totally is. So, my primary objective today on this video is to help you understand the basic layout of each mech, what to look for in terms of playstyle, and what the jargon of the game truly means. First up, shape and size. At the base level, every pilot starts with the GMS frame, the Everest, an all-around efficient mech with plenty of systems and skills to tinker with. But at your first true level up, there are dozens of Lancers to pick from, and understanding the layout of each one will make picking your next mech frame that much faster. Although relatively straightforward, many mechs can be various sizes. Each mech is listed between size 1/2 all the way up to size 4. The size 1/2 mechs are more similar to an exoskeleton or a bodysuit, able to enhance your abilities and give you many bonuses, while also being able to interact with smaller panels for hacking, perform infiltrations to buildings and other structures, and even fight on top of other mechs that can't quite reach you on top of their own backs. Sizes 1 to 2, that's the most traditional size. Many mechs are similar in shape and size of that of TV shows like Gundam and Transformers. Most mechs stay within this range and operate well with a mix of speed, power, and durability. Although many mechs specialize in one role or another, and others may shine more in certain playstyles than another, some of them are given benefits, and sometimes flaws, based on the design option by the manufacturers they come from. Although they are the most common size, they come with many tools for any creative build you can think of. Lastly, are the biggest and bulkiest of the boys, the mechs between size 3 and size 4. You're literally a walking armory of weapons, gear, and support functions. Your size is a bonus and a threat to others. You can be between the sizes of a large tank or that of a walking forge. Many of these mechs are all or nothing, devoting a lot of resources to a specific task or role. However, within exception, there are just as many that are well balanced and find themselves flexible enough to do jobs that are even too delicate for the smaller mechs. With an understanding of the scale of which the game is played, you can imagine how crazy the battlefield can get, flooded with mechs of every type. Each mech has a design choice and an aesthetic that fits the manufacturer that built them. And I won't get into too many specific details on all of your options, but the list that's most current is in use is as follows. GMS, General Massive Systems, the equivalent of local space Walmart. It has everything and anything you might want from traditional day-to-day activities. But do not underestimate the power of always having something, and always having something easy to fix. Rare mechs are that, rare, and finding a rare part to fix a rare mech takes time and money. GMS makes it easy to find what you need, and even easier to repair it. The next one is IPS North Star. They are all but the monopoly on trade across the systems. While they are growing in power, they despise piracy. Their own lines are broken up between pirates who take everything from them. So, their idea, with proficiency in great engineering, they decided that they wanted to make their own mechs to ward off these pirates. Their mechs are durable, easy to repair, and pack a massive punch when push comes to shove. And you can bet your bottom dollar they will have wonderful systems to allow great customization. Horus. Look, if you like eldritch monsters that can hack into other mechs and ruin any chance of them winning, mechs that teleport and cause havoc, guns that never miss, or even shape-shifting abilities or undead properties, Look no further. The wild and weird creations of the Horus mechs are the reason they are my personal favorite. The Harrison Army has a logo, which is superior by design. These mechs are just a cut above the rest, with exceptional defense, offense, great weapons, flexible uses, amazing systems. The Harrison Armory always brings the top of the line when it comes to combat. With the main 4 groups out of the way, the following 6 might not be available to all players whenever you first download CompCon. You might have to look around to find the special links to grab these ones, but other honorable mentions are Grim & Sons, Intercorp Trademark, Waffenfabrik Zale Whiskey, which, to be honest with you, I didn't know how to pronounce that, Muffakans, Pinnacle Industries Orion Faction, and Chandraskar and Eshkel. These sci-fi names really good. Now that you know that each manufacturer really specializes in a certain style, let's talk about what all the numbers on the page mean and get your feet wet. Part 2, Stats. Starting off strong with your HP and your structure. HP is very simple. If you've ever played any game, HP is how much health you have. Your structure, however, is directly tied to your HP. In Lancer, when damage or an effect would bring you to 0 HP, instead you mark off a structure and return your mech to full HP. As in, your mech is taking a severe hit or part of your mech is breaking off completely. The downside is that you also need to roll a random effect when this happens. Then the GM gets to decide what that effect is based on a table. It could be something as harsh as your mech exploding right there on the spot, or getting a weapon knocked off of your mech. Or it could also be something as simple as taking a little bit of heat, or having the luck of nothing happening at all. It was just a grazing wound. Picture structure as extra lives, as long as you're lucky and play smart. In a similar conversation, we'll move to the heat and the stress of each mech, where heat is very similar to HP, and stress is very similar to structure. Heat is how hot, literally, your mech can get before it fries your engine, your systems, or you. Your mechs can abuse this mechanic and heat up on purpose to deal extra damage and effects. I had a burn build mech that was incentivized to be at the most amount of heat possible without overheating. Some mechs are very good about doing it, but the danger is that when you overheat and pass your limits, you take a stress, which resets your heat, very similar to how HP and structure works, but then you do the exact same roll you do for structure, but on a different table. An effect happens, sometimes minor, sometimes severe, sometimes you just blow up. All 4 of these mechanics are simple and very similar, but require you to watch each of them independently and very, very carefully. They are your lifeline to not exploding, and no shade to the Manticore users out there, sometimes you want to explode on purpose. Next up is the defensive stats, the ones that prevent you from taking that kind of damage in the first place. The first one is Evasion. Evasion plays like AC in Dungeons & Dragons, Pathfinder, and other tabletop RPGs. It is your ability to avoid damage in the first place. Secondly is your armor. Anywhere between 0 and the cap at 4, the number of armor you have reduces the damage you take from almost every type of object, weapon, or interaction by that amount every single time you take damage. It is super useful and should never be overlooked when picking a mech. Third, we talk about the less physical side of combat, E-defense and tech attacks. Inside and outside of combat, many classes, mechs, and even artificial intelligences will do their best to hack into your systems and wreak havoc on your systems, your mech, and your gear, shutting you down before you can even really get going. I personally see tech attacks very similar to how magic is handled in other games, where your E-defense is your resistance to the effects of the tech attack, what the attacker needs to roll to hack into you, and the tech attack bonus, what the attacker adds to the roll to hack into you. If you don't understand E-defense and tech attack all that much, just think about it like offense and defense. Tech attack is your offense for magic, and your E-defense is your defense for magic. That's all. The fourth is your sensors. Similar to perception in other tabletop games, it allows you to see things that aren't obvious to the eye, alongside granting bonuses to your range for many abilities and your drones. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, drones are in this game. You can have like a bunch of them. It's crazy. Alongside other defensive abilities like inhibiting movement, hacking from a distance, and other goodies. Weapon mounts are a bit tricky to talk about just on this kind of platform, but I'll give it my best shot. Weapon mounts are broken into three main types: flex, main, and auxiliary. Each mech comes with at least one of these three types of mounts, with exception, I think there's like one mech that doesn't have a mount, but it's because it has its own specialty weapon. Regardless, others come with many, but generally, these are the kind of weapons you could equip to your mech, and the weapons that are ready for battle when you're in a firefight. These are also the weapons that can get blown up if your heat or structure gets too high. The reason it's a bit complicated is because each mount has a type, and each weapon matching it can be fit into the respective slot, but there's nuances in this. But using them in combat is the confusing part. To understand the actual confusion here, I would have to talk about the action economy, which is going to be a separate video. The last few pieces of information on most of the mechs is pretty easy to understand. I'll just run through them very quickly. Speed, how many tiles you can move per turn. Save target, what your enemy needs to roll if you cause an effect that they want to resist. Repairs, very similar to long rest and short rests in D&D. This is how many times you can fix severe damage breaks like stress and structure in your downtime. And lastly, your system points. This one is super good. Make sure you have good system points if you want customizations. Your number of customizations you can pick and add to your mech when designing it. With all of these things, like weapons, artificial intelligences, tech attacks, and otherwise tricky to understand nuances in the Lancer tabletop game, I'll move to cover them in a future video. But for now, I hope this clears up any fog over the basics of reading the mech pages of Lancer, and helps you get up into the cockpit of the fray of Mech v Mech combat. I'm so glad you guys sticked around to the very end. I actually had a lot of success doing the last one of this, where I introduced Lancer to a lot of you, and super happy that you guys enjoyed it and were super interactive with it. So decided to make this one a bit longer and do a little bit extra. So thanks for coming by, and I appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.